Tonight, former DEA legend and agent Cele Castillo takes us on an inside tour of the alleged American war on drugs in Peru and South America.
But one of the things that that I think it needs to be cleared up also, they're not letting us win this war either, the so-called war on drugs.
Right.
And you know, it reminds me so much of Vietnam, because they're not going to let us win this war. It's going to continue forever. We'll have a war in Colombia, and when the dust settles, we're still going to have more drugs and more money laundering banks in the U.S.
Because, as in Vietnam, money is the bottom line, it's the top line. Money is the whole thing. It's all money. Follow the money.
Absolutely. If drug trafficking was to cease today, our banking systems would collapse.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Yes, sir.
That's an amazing statement.
Absolutely.
If drug trafficking were to cease today, our banking systems and institutions would collapse.
Absolutely, sir.
Wow. That's we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions, ultimately.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct. It's just so much money, and people think, well, maybe we legalize drugs. They're never going to let it happen, not because, you know, whatever reason. It's just that there's so much money to be made on it.
How long did you serve in South America?
I
Central America?
Well, I did a total of 6 years in Central America, 5 in Central, and about a year and a half in South America, specifically Peru and Colombia.
I'm going to jump sideways just for a minute, if I can, Cele. I read an article, in fact, I put it on my website recently, about, it had to do with American street gangs, being, some of them, I guess they were sent out of the U.S. They were found to be illegally here, but they were members of gangs. They were sent back to Guatemala, Honduras, and so forth. And when they went back home, and where they are now, the prisons down there are beginning to fill up with many of them. These gangs have actually exported to Central and South America, but mostly Central America, terrorism, murder, violence, drug dealing, brutality, the same things we see here on the streets of major cities, is now in fact becoming a cancer in many of the cities in Central America. Is this true?
Absolutely, specifically Salvador. There was a lot of Salvadorians that were deported, that were gang members, and with their connections in the U.S., they were able to now get heavily involved in drug trafficking and arms smuggling and so forth.
Right.
And that's the reason. And now we have a lot of kidnappings for ransom and so forth.
That's right, yeah.
We saw it in Mexico, we've seen it in Central America, and we saw it in just basically everywhere in Central and South America.
So we are exporting gang violence and murder basically to the southern part of this hemisphere now.
That's correct, sir.
It's crazy. It's just getting crazier all the time.
It's ludicrous, yes, sir.
When you were in the DEA and dealing with all this garbage, do you remember a point, was there a crossover that came and went in your life when you said, this is nuts, I'm out of here, I'm going to keep records, this is wrong? Do you remember that point?
You know what, I think very vividly I remember this, because to understand my story, first you have to understand that I do come from a very patriotic family. You know, we all my uncles and my father all served their country, and being the only son in the family, my dad says, you know what, you got to pay dues to your country, and you got to serve in the U.S. military, and I did. Mm-hmm. But bottom line, and I really strongly believe that by putting my life on the line, I would make a difference in saving my country. So when I was down in South America, and I first saw the U.S. government support to those governments who were sleeping with the cartels, and I said, well, you know what, there's something definitely wrong here, because when you see for example, the Peruvians military playing soccer ball with the Colombians on Sunday afternoon, and I'm talking about Colombian traffickers, I said there's something wrong. And when the banks in Lima, Peru, went down to the jungles to buy dollars, I said, you know, there is something definitely wrong.
Oh man, they actually went out to the backcountry in the jungles to buy dollars.
Absolutely, they went down into the Andes to, you know, all the big jets would fly in and pick up dollars and take them back to the banks in Lima.
We keep hearing stories, and Sherman Skolnick was on the other night talking about the Japanese mafia coming, the Yakuza coming over here late at night and literally picking up suitcases of cash in Chicago from banks and then flying it out of here. I guess it's what you're talking about, this mega billion-dollar illegal banking trade that goes on all the time.
Exactly. There's just so much money being made. If you look at let me give you an example, a very clear example of how
Sure.
the United States government, I mean, we're talking about Panama.
Yeah.
We took Noriega out because he was involved in money laundering and drug trafficking and so forth.
Yeah.
As soon as we took him out, we got more banks in Panama now laundering money than when Noriega was there.
I've heard that. What did Noriega do that cost him his little stewardship of that operation down there? He must have made a mistake.
Well, his mistake was that he got a little cocky and got a little powerful because he was dealing with the cartels and playing with Cuba and so forth. And what happened to him was when the U.S. government asked him to train the Contras in Panama, he said no.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to get involved in that. So they said, well, if you don't, then we're going to take you out. And then basically that's what happened. They tried to run a coup on him and so forth, and it didn't work. And they took him up to put the United States government's president in there to run drug money.